My name is Lewis, and welcome to my coming out story. So I've always known that I was queer, or well, more specifically gay, since I was about 3 or 4 years old. I can remember having a very large crush on my childhood sweetheart named Stephen Lovelace. He was my best friend for 10 years when I lived out in LA, and yeah, I just really was fond of this boy. It was a really interesting relationship that I had with him. I was really close. We would have sleepovers virtually every day. And when I ended up moving from Riverside to Los Angeles, like central LA, I was heartbroken and depressed and crying, and I had lost basically the love of my life at the age of 9, 8 years old. But I really didn't come out until I reached the age of 17 and decided to come to college. I went to UC Santa Cruz. I'm still going to UC Santa Cruz. And my first week there, I was like, well, this is the perfect opportunity for me to reinvent myself, to come out and be the person that I want to be. And so I just, knocked on all my hallmates' doors one morning and was like, hey, you want to go to breakfast? By the way, I'm gay. And it was really cool coming out to them. They were all really receptive. It was a perfect opportunity. From that moment on, I was just reinventing myself and really restructuring the way I thought about who I was and the way I thought about gender. Because all throughout high school, I was very, very mean and I was like a gender police. I made sure that men kind of stuck to their masculinity because I didn't want to be targeted as being queer or have any of that hatred, kind of shot towards me. So I, took the offensive and was like, well, if I police everybody else about being straight, then, people won't assume that I'm queer. Then, yeah. So I came out, knocked on everybody's doors. We went and had a great breakfast about me being gay. And after that, I thought it was everything's cool and everything's I came out to all my friends up there, but there was still a lot of coming out I had to do. So the next week, after my first week, my second week of being in college, I ended up deciding to call my mom and tell her that I was gay. And that was one of the most difficult things I ever had to do. And I made the decision to do it on the phone just because I didn't have to be around her or see her, or if she went crazy, you know what I mean? I could just hang up on her, there was I had a lot of options on how to handle the situation, and once she did learn about it, she could handle it on her own, and if she wanted to talk to me about it, she could call or whatever. But so I ended up giving her a call. I remember it was 9 at night. I had been sitting in my room with 4 of my friends since 4, contemplating how I'm gonna, come out to my mom. I was writing a script down. I was emotionally just unstable. I kept breaking into tears and crying, and I don't know, I just had all this frustration and emotional despair on why it was so difficult for me to come out to my mom, because I felt so much was in jeopardy. I was threatening this relationship that it's been my foundation for basically my entire life, and that was being jeopardized. And so I decided to call her at 9, and I froze. I was like, hi, Mom. And she's like, hey, honey, what's going on? How's school? It turned into just a typical nightly conversation that we had. She was asking me, how are my classes? How are my friends? How's my living situation? And then after about 15 minutes of this, I was like, okay, Mom, I have something to tell you. She's like, oh, what is it? Because she, she could pick up on the tone of my voice. And I was like, Mom, I'm gay. And she's like, oh, literally, she just took in the biggest breath of air I'd ever heard. She was like, oh, and just started just humming. It was the weirdest noise I've ever heard. She was just like, oh. And then she started crying for a good 10-15 minutes. And so I was just sitting on the other side of the phone crying along with her, because I was just oh my God, what's going on? this is like, you know, this is that breaking point. This is what had my entire life has been leading up to. Like, that's what I felt in that moment in time, at least. And so after she regained her composure, she was like, okay, you're gay, and I need to call you back. I just can't. I need to. And she just hung up. And so after that, I got really angry and pissed off. I was just really frustrated. And I ended up calling her back like 5 minutes later and just being like, oh, how could you go and repress me and like, you know, not accept me for who I am, and how could, for all those years, and why didn't you ask me if I was gay or not? And I was so depressed, and I was just like just like venting at her 5 minutes after I'd come out to her. And so she ended up hanging up on me again. But, you know, that was expected. But yeah, now everything's a lot different. My entire family knows that I'm gay. All my friends from home, all my friends in college, everybody knows that I'm really active in the gay community. And I've really come out to myself more than anything, which is really, really cool. And I've learned so much just from, you know, doing all the queer activism and being exposed to a lot of queer people and stuff. So it's really cool. Yeah, I think that's about it.